It's AFA Today from the belly of the news beast in New York. Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you on AFR Talk. And as we have been discussing in this last little bit here with Kevin McCullough, 888-589-8840, we have talked about the fact that this last Saturday, the troops at Kadena Air Base in Japan held, just real riotously fun party, according to the people that are writing about it. It's believed to be the first party in the history of the United States military to be slated as a drag king or queen show. Though they weren't allowed to say that in the publicity material, so it might have been a little bit shocking for some of the people that showed up thinking they were just going to have a party to suddenly have, these people singing songs or lip-syncing songs on stage to them. But anyway, a lot of people raving about how great it is and so forth. Even the author of the article saying just a few years ago, performances like these would have been grounds for a possible discharge. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell has made it possible for events like this to occur. My question has been, do you suppose it has anything to do with stuff like this in the military that causes some of our former enemies to look at us and not really blink anymore? That America, in their mind, isn't as great anymore. Does it have anything to do with anything like this? Or is it just the indecision of the administration and kind of their inability to get their act together? Now, my brother-in-law is a graduate of Top Gun. He has been in a special field for the Navy in the last several months, working on experimental technology that is probably some of that drone stuff that the caller was talking about earlier. But the sissification, the turning of a military into a feminine attribute, I think is a negative thing. You don't want a feminized a feminine acting military. Even if women are in the military, when they're in uniform, you want them to act masculine, aggressive, strong, defiant to captors. You want a certain amount of moxie that is not perceived or equated with femininity. Now, I know that there's people's heads are exploding. Jessica was just with us, and you could tell it was just like driving her nuts that I'm saying this. But if you understand biology, basic biology, there is no scientific question about what I'm saying. The stronger army will win the war, particularly if they are stronger and they are more radically devoted to their cause. There's no question about that. Mind over matter, all the rest of it. Yeah, well, in maybe isolated instances. But it's going to be the use of force, and it's going to be the opportunity to demonstrate that force against the other force and to overcome that force that ultimately wins the war. This isn't I'm not talking Martian here. This is just plain old common sense. It's just that we live in a culture that's so overly feminized. And let me explain the use of that word. In the 1920s, you had the kind of feminist that I am. I'm a 1920s feminist. In the 1920s, the suffrage movement was in full-blown speed. You had women that were not allowed to own property. They weren't allowed to vote. They weren't allowed to get paid the same amount of money for working the same amount of hours. You had, a very limited way of them expressing themselves commercially in the market, et cetera, et cetera. You had to come from privilege if you were a woman that had any of these things for the most part. But there was a definitive bias and attempt to hold women back from entering into full equality with men. And notice I said the word equality and not the word sameness, because being the same as a man is an insult to women. Being fully equal to a man is what God says. But to say that a woman is the same as a man is an insult to God. Now, again, heads are exploding. Kev, I can't believe you're saying this, but think about it. If I'm in a burning building and I'm on the 6th floor and the fire truck pulls up and they elevate the ladder, and up comes this 5'2", 110-pound girl. I'm 6'2", well over 200 pounds. I'm going to get out and carry her down the ladder, just so that we can both get out of the burning building. Okay. Why is that the case? Because physically she's not built, bone structure, muscle wise, to be able to handle someone carrying someone like me. Whereas if your firefighter is 6'8" and can bench press 300 pounds, he can carry anybody out of the building. It doesn't make that firefighter bad, and she might actually be very good at logistics and strategies and other things. So she might be like at the truck calling out the positions and saying, you guys take that hose there, and we got to come up this side, and we're gonna make sure that we wash the front and so forth. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that people can work together, and I didn't say I was against women being in the military. Jessica implied that I had said that. I didn't say that at all. But being on the front lines of combat is different. The types of stuff that the Navy SEALs do and the Army Rangers and the forward operating things where you go in and maybe your teammate gets gutted in front of your eyes. I mean, there are things that happen that are ugly in combat. I don't think God intends for me to say to my daughter, "Oh, please, sweetie, go expose yourself to that." Whereas if my sons said, "Dad, I know it's dangerous, but I think I'm called to defend my nation," I would fear for his life every day. But if he felt called, I would say, "Okay." It's just, there's a difference. I'm a sexist father. Pardon me for loving my daughters. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Michael, who's been on hold in North Carolina. Hi, Michael. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Show.
Thank you.
I agree with everything you're saying also, and I think our enemies are looking at us like we're weaklings. And, I think that Obama also, he reflects the people, too, who voted for him and our country in a whole, that we've turned to a weak nation. We're not the nation we used to be. It's scary, and I don't think I'd want any of my children to be in the military, especially at this time in history, with this president, actually. And I don't know, it's terrible. And I think that, women do have their place, but, men are built different. And, that's just, you can see that, like you say, it's a football team, you wouldn't have women versus men because of course, women would probably get hurt. And I don't know, it's just, people have changed.
Well, and you're absolutely right, Michael, and thank you for your patience and for getting on the show. But, there was a story last week or the week before that Tim Wildman sent me that was the softball player in Southern California, Azusa High School, and he had played freshman baseball the year before, and now he was playing girls softball because the new law in California is, well, if you feel like a girl, you can play on the girls' team. Well, he hasn't even had a surgery or anything. He still has all of his boy parts. He's still a boy in every way. In every way, and by the way, he will be till he dies because his DNA will never change. But how shocking is it that a kid who played freshman fast pitch baseball was able to make the girls softball team? That's not that surprising. The ball's bigger, it's thrown slower. And not terribly slower, but because fast pitch is still a hard pitch to hit. But what I'm saying is that there's an incredible disadvantage for the girls that are competing against him on that level, which is why the law is stupid. You shouldn't have boys playing on girls' teams. You should have boys' teams playing for the boys' championship. And if they're not a boy, or they can't cut it at that level, then they shouldn't be allowed to play. But he was good enough to play fast pitch with the boys program, but he instead, because he felt like a girl, he wanted to play on the girls' softball team. 888-589-8840. Same principle here. Honestly, not anything different about it. Let's talk to Teresa. I don't know where Teresa's calling from, but I'm glad she's with us. Hi, Teresa. Welcome.
Hi, I'm from Mississippi.
Well, glad you made it through.
Me too, and I am a combat veteran of Afghanistan. I returned home from a
Thank you for your service, Teresa.
Yeah, I returned home 9 months ago, and you are spot on. Women do not belong in combat. I will preface this by saying I'm a 50-year-old woman, so part of the problem is this new generation of entitlement. They sign on the dotted line for school benefits to go to school, and then when they go to combat, they can't deal with it. You've got your Rangers and your Special Forces and Marine Corps and combat trained guys, Navy SEALs that are trained for that. But women don't belong. We're not as strong, first of all, and second of all, like you said, that's not the way the Lord made us. And men have instinct to protect a woman. That's what they think. That they're supposed to protect women and take care of them, and it's a distraction. And you get men that have been away from home for 9 months, 10 months, a year, whatever. And just to be frank with you, I'm a Christian, and I don't want to be vulgar, but women are saying, I don't care what uniform you're in, they're a woman. And they're doing without. And it's just a different mentality. And I absolutely worked hard. I'm trained and did my job willingly and gladly. But after being there, I think you're right. Women belong in different capacities and not in combat on the front lines. And the sissification of our Army, you're spot on. We're seen as a complete joke.
Well, and the longer that these kind of social experiments keep getting conducted on our military, I think the worse that's going to become. Teresa, thank you for your call. Interesting. 2 calls from active service women today, and they couldn't be further apart in terms of how they viewed this. But you're absolutely right. What we've done, what the president has done, is he's shuffled the deck and he said, "Hey, we're going to play a social experiment, and we're going to mess around with it. We're going to use the military as our laboratory." And what's really sad is that we've got a committed military. We do. The men and women who serve, they are there to protect our country. The vast majority of them. You have a handful who may have issues of sexual expression that they feel like they need more attention for or whatever, hence the drag queen event that was held on an American military base this last week. But I bet if you did a survey of the military, I bet you'd have over 98% of the active military saying, I don't want to have anything to do with that. So the question becomes, are we losing that, not even respect, but fear, basic fear from our enemies or from those that should be fearful of us? Fear of America is a good thing for the world. Disrespect of America is a very dangerous thing for all of the world. But when America is strong and we are feared, then the world is a better place. Bad actors aren't as bold, and that's not a bad thing. Let me real quickly go to David in Florida. Hi, David. You're up next.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that now that you've had the, I want to say conspiracy answer from the Iron Man guy, and then you had the typical Democratic feminist non-answer that you had earlier. I come from a long line of military men in my family. My father's a Vietnam vet, Green Beret. Brother was a combat medic. Both grandfathers served in Korea.
Thank you for all of their service.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I got nothing against women in the military. However, you will not find any branch of the military to this day, Special Forces, SEALs, Green Berets, Marine Recons, any direct combat that has women in the military. And you have to look at it back this way. Men have been scientifically and psychologically proven to be able to handle that kind of stress better than women for a reason. God created us different. I'm glad he did. I'm glad my wife is different than I am. I enjoy that. However, as far as our enemies being feared, our enemies aren't really influenced by our military because they know that our military are willing to die for each other, not for the president, not for the congressman, not for the people who run it. Our men and women in our military don't die for them; they die for.
So you don't think a drag show? You don't think a bunch of military guys getting dressed up in drag and parading about, lip syncing, that doesn't have any negative impact on how people think about us?
Oh, that is morally negative for our military as a whole, yes. But our military is not feared because of the people who fight it. Our military is feared because of the people who have the ability to tell them to do it. They don't fear us anymore because they know the people that are in office right now, like Obama and Kerry and the rest of them, they're not anybody they have to fear, so they're not going to call the military in so they don't have to fear them. Our military, however, everybody knows the extent our military will go to under the right leadership.
Yeah,
It's
no, I
leadership.
know. Good points all, David. Thank you. Let's take one last call. Tom is in Texas. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Kevin. I just had a quick comment. You mentioned football as kind of a testing ground, but I thought since we all just finished watching the Olympics, maybe we should just get rid of the sexual division in Olympics and let everybody compete, man against woman, and let's see who wins all the medals.
Yeah, put the fastest male ice skater up against the fastest female ice skater, and when he's lapped her, maybe the convincing could occur.
The Jessica, was that her name we called earlier?
I believe it was. And she sounded like a sweetheart. It just felt like she was misguided.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you. And I appreciate Jessica. I appreciate her service to this country. I appreciate Teresa and her service to this country, just coming back from Afghanistan. I appreciate the service of my brother-in-law and my extended family that have deep Navy and Air Force roots. And see, the Navy Air Force thing, it's in the family too, so we deal with that. We always remind them, well, it is the Air Force. I'm just kidding. But it is harder to land a plane on something moving. I will stick to that gun. Anyway, Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. Stay with us because Focal Point with Brian Fisher comes your way next here on American Family Radio and AFR Talk. I'm Kevin McCullough. I'll be back next week. Tomorrow. Next time, rather. Easy for me to say. We'll see you.